What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back at you with more Danmachi. And today we're going to be talking about Record Buster. I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. The first thing I think you need to know, even more than the element, even more than anything like that, the first thing I think you need to be aware of, if you're not aware, the Pop Idolina that I always use for all these events is currently broken. I don't think she's yet been fixed as of posting this video. I could be wrong. But as of posting this video, I believe she is still unrepaired. So I think that repair is actually going to come on the usual updates on Wednesday. So, hopefully. So what I'm doing instead is I'm using Wealth. Now that actually will help out because, well, that Pop Idolina is a light type. Wealth is a fire type. And that skill he does a couple of other things that are kind of nice. Does SA gauge charge 33%, magic dex and fire attack damage plus 30%. Actually, that's not going to be any good for us whatsoever, but it will increase dex and magic for those units that don't actually have that, but all my units do have it, so it is kind of a moot point, though that dex is going to be really good. That dex is going to be substantial. The only thing I will say about doing a buff here in the beginning is all buffs taken away at the end of turn 4, beginning of turn 5. So you need to be cautious about what you're doing. In my case, this is very well calculated. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. So for me, this is really not that big of a deal. It'll actually help me out in the long run of the game. I'll explain when I get to the end of the match. But first things first, let's talk about our full stack, our full complement of units. Basically, notice everybody's light. Everybody that we're attacking with is light, with the exception of Otarl. What Otarl is doing, I'm actually going to wait till turn 2 to explain. But know that he's all here, and the only assists that I have that are not maximum broken are actually on Welf, who's gone turn 1, and Otarl, who's going to come in and peace out on turn 2. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now, Riv is a dark type, so she's weak to light. She's also weak to water and fire 20%, but light is down 80%. So if you have good maximum broken light units, single targets that is, use them. Use them, use them, use them. Another situation where Lena's going to come in super handy. If you're tired of watching me use a Lena that I told you guys not to summon on, don't feel bad. You're probably not going to see her much after this for a very long time. At least not until the 7th zone, where she's going to be useful again. That's just the reality of a unit like this. When you maximum break this unit, sure, she'll be useful in a lot of events, but she's not going to be top dog in a lot of those events, and I think there's going to be better units coming along. So I told you not to summon. I wailed. I went full whale mode, so don't be too jelly. Also, she will stun. So Riveria, not Lena. Riveria will stun, so you want to make sure you're either running a stun anklet, like what I've got here on Lena. Okay, we go to change equip. Armor. Running the glorious anklet that it has 100% stun resist. I got that on all my mainline units. If you do not have that, you can actually use the Misha, the 3-star Misha, or there's a couple other units in here that do stun resistance. Basically, to craft the anklets, if you're not aware, you go up here and you just want to try to get the best scores you can. You're not going to get it right out of the gate, but 3 million is really not, and in today's landscape of the game, not hard. I want to say there's enough roughly every single Record Buster, give or take, to craft one of the anklets, so you're probably going to have to get through about 4 Record Busters before you really can do this, and it's actually going to be even probably a bit more than that. So you're either going to have to suffer through the stuns, run a lower difficulty, or run the stun resist assist. It's a tongue twister. So here's my team. I'm going to go and jump in. We're talking about what my team is doing, why my team is doing it, and what Riveria is doing, and what you need to do in regards to these runs. First things first, Riv's going to come out of the gate with an elemental resistance down and 2 low AoE attacks. Meanwhile, we're just going to do 33% SA gauge charge and our normal buff stack. Nothing too crazy, nothing out of the ordinary. Pretty straightforward stuff. Okay? Now, she does reduce elemental resistance, and you will notice we did not debuff on this turn. There's a good reason for that. Here comes Otarl. Otarl is going to debuff in this turn, and he's going to do Annihilation Rift. Annihilation Rift is a 45% strength and magic debuff for a single target. Remember, Haruhime is 40%, but for all allies, or for all foes. We only have one target here, and Otarl is a better debuffer. I'm going to use him instead to try to get a little bit of extra, I guess, damage absorption out. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do the rest of our buff and debuff stack with everybody else. And Otaro's going to peace out at the end of this turn. Now, Otaro's debuff is only 2 turns, so you have to use Haruhime. You 100% must use Haruhime or somebody on turn 3 that can replicate buffs. And it actually works in our favor because we took some early damage, and I need to heal, and Yosuga not only extends debuffs and buffs, but it also will heal. So it's a very, very, very useful tool. There is some usefulness to using Mayfly on that turn to do a little bit of HP regen, but with my current stack, I haven't needed it, so I'm very lucky in that regard. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do our big attacks on everybody except Lena. Lena does, on her Memorial Strike, she does remove every buff she's got. Now, we're not ready for that. We're going to get those removed next turn anyway with Reveria, so I'm going to go ahead and just do double tap again. The reason I'm going to do that is because that actually reactivates all those additional attacks. Now, remember, when we buff that, it starts from the next turn. So we buffed it on turn 1, 2, 3, 4, get it. That means when buffs run out in turn 4, 5, we wouldn't have it. So if we rebuff it now, then we'll have it turns 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But just rebuff anyway in 5, so we're going to basically keep that stack going. You're going to see it's going to make a ton of sense. By the time we get late game, it's going to make a huge amount of sense why I'm doing this. But we're just trying to get those extra actions out there. So those extra actions can produce very substantial damage in the long run of the game. So everybody else is doing their big hit. Lena is rebuffing. Now, turn 2, I didn't talk about it. Riv does a single low AoE and an elemental resistance down and another mid AoE. On this turn, she's going to do another low AoE and a mid AoE. Basically the same thing minus the element resistance. That means Haruhime doesn't get the element resistance on this turn. She will on turn 4. So it's going to save Haruhime from taking damage basically for 1 extra turn. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and just keep doing the big dog hits. I'm going to go back up to Memorial Strike on turn 4, and the reason I'm going to do that is because, remember, she's going to remove the magic buff, but Riv is going to remove all the other buffs, so it really doesn't matter. Pretty straightforward stuff. Riv is about to do an element resistance down. Remember I said Haruhime only got 1 turn saved from that. It is a thing. 1 low AoE, 30% magic buff, and basically we're going to have to use Shinobi Strike here. Actually, we could use Cicada Shell, but I don't need to. This Anya is so perfect for this. She's going to remove that magic buff. She removes strength and magic buffs on her big attack. So she's going to do us a huge favor. At the end of the turn, she's going to wipe out that big buff and help us survive this. So, let's go. Now, I didn't talk too much about the buff and debuff on Reveria, but when we get to the next turn, I'll really talk about what she's sitting at now and why I really feel adamant this team is absolutely just crazy for this. Okay, now here we go. Magic and physical are all 0% when you walk in here. Water and fire are minus 20%, and light is minus 80%. I've done so much debuffing. Light is now down 135. That is going to be very, very substantial by the end of this match. So you want to make sure that you have your debuffs just absolutely right. Now, turn 5, we're going to go ahead and just basically rebuff with everybody. That we're going to use Sheikah with Haruhime. That's going to give her an extra turn to do basically a little bit of MP regeneration. Nothing too crazy, but it's going to help save her for the end of the match. Everybody else is just going to rebuff. Remember I said double tap does do a bit of a refresh of that low extra attack that we're doing every turn, and that's going to basically come into play. Every turn, we're basically going to do a buff, attack, buff, attack, buff, attack with Lena from this point to the end of the game, minus the turns that we're doing SAs. So it's going to be very, very, very important. Well, actually, rare exception to that, but we'll get to it. We'll talk about her end game. All right? But for now, everybody's just buffing. Now, Riv's going to do an element resistance down and 2 mid AoE attacks. She should be fine. She doesn't have her magic buff, so it's not going to hurt. We're basically not going to feel this at all. Bam. Look at that. Now, we're going to go back to doing our big hits. We don't need to re-debuff because she's still debuffed. So we're just going to basically come out of the gate and just start doing damage all over again. I am going to do Memorial Strike on this turn because then turn 7 I can rebuff and do Memorial Strike again. If you're not familiar, Memorial Strike does 80% per each self-magic buff with a super light modifier. So she's basically doing an SA every turn because her SA is an ultralight modifier, a little bit higher, but 80% strength and magic buff. If you really math that out, with an assist magic buff and an adventure magic buff, that's 160% extra damage every single time she does one of these. It's absolutely nuts. In fact, let's go ahead and slow this down this turn and see what she does. Riv is going to do 2 mid AoEs, and then we're just going to go ham. Alright, so, Lena, what you got, girl? Okay, only 106. It's actually not the end of the world. Ooh, she did another... I'm sorry, that was a million, wasn't it? Was that a million, or was that... my decimals are all off. Anyway, she hit her hard. She hit her damn hard. I think it was only 100,000. I'd be surprised if it was a million. I have to go back and analyze the footage. That was crazy. I think it's 100,000, though. I think my eyes are playing tricks on me. She's good. I don't think she's that good. I'm going to be real. I don't know. Good, not that good. All right. So turn 7, so she removed her magic buffs. If you want to go down here and see. Bada bing, bada boom. No magic buff. Light buff, but no magic buff. So we're going to go ahead and have to redo double tap. Everybody else is doing their big hit. Lego. Now that does mean turn 8 we're going to do that. We're going to do her big hit again. And it's going to remove all the buffs, but remember, we're not really worried about that. Now, I didn't talk about turn 7 with Riv. Turn 7 with Riv is a single low AoE, element resistance down, and a 30% magic buff, which hopefully we have actually removed. And it looks like we have. Yeah, magic buff has been removed. Remember, there's 2 attacks we have on this team that do that. Shinobi Strike and Cicada Shell. I'm not really worried about doing Cicada Shell because we spam Shinobi Strike so much. So, remove that magic buff on turn 7. It'll save your posterior. Okay, I'm going to go back and do Memorial Strike again. That's going to be her really big hit. Once again, on turn 8, she's going to do a 30% magic buff right out of the gate. We might get hit with that a couple times, but it's not going to be end of the world stuff. Then she's going to do a low AoE and an element resistance down. She loves to do that element resistance debuff. That's why I say removing those debuffs isn't really that important. If you really want survivability, there's better buffs and debuffs you can do. Case in point, what we're doing here. All right, let's go. So yeah, we're just beating her up at this point. We're just absolutely beating her up. I think I was 700k out of Lena. So Lena's still hitting hard, stupid hard. Ridiculously hard. So maybe it was 100k, but maybe that was a retaliatory attack. I wish I was paying more attention. I was really kind of wrapped up in everything. Anyway, which defeats the purpose, but whatever. Neither here nor there. Turn 9. Everything's gone, so we're doing another buff stack. Okay? Alright, now, on this turn, Reveria is going to do an elemental resistance down and 2 mid AoEs. So, we're just basically going to buff ourselves up. And you're probably noticing the SA gauge is really, really high. We're going to talk about that come turn 11. Yep, not turn 10, turn 11. Most everybody watching this, their spidey sense is probably tingling right about now. Oof. You know what? I'm going to be real. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I might not have it in this team to do what I want to do. I'm going to try it. It might bite me in the posterior, but I'm going to try it. I haven't actually done this yet, so this is a bit of a... We're going to do it live type of thing. Well, on recording, and then I won't edit it out, which I'll threaten to, but I won't actually do. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do Mayfly. I'm going to go ahead and do Shinobi Strike, and I am going to go ahead and do One Way Straight. The reason I'm going to do that, it is a high modifier, not the super modifier. It's a high modifier, but it won't remove her magic buffs. So let's see. The goal is here to get a 4 SA build. Turn 10, I didn't talk about turn 9. Turn 9, we got the elemental resistance buff, elemental resistance down to a single AoE. Turn 10, we're going to get elemental resistance down and 2 mid AoEs. So she's going to attack us with a little bit of that. But hopefully, our counterattack on turn 11 will be worth. Let's see. Can we do it? Can we eke out that last? Come on, girls. That's a little painful. I'm not going to lie. That is a little tiny bit painful. You know what? Forget it. I'm going to do it one more time. I honestly, now in hindsight, I would have done Memorial Strike. I really thought we had enough to do it. But let's do it one more time. Okay? And if you're wondering why I don't go do double tap on this turn, the reason being is because we're going to do a quad AoE on the next turn, and a quad SA on the next turn, and a quad SA. Well, realistically, SAs don't add to those actions technically. Actually, no, we can't do a quad SA in that turn because then we won't remove the buff. So I've got to do a triple SA in this turn. Ugh. All right. So I know something I've got to do in order to get that out. Realistically, I should have done this turn 10. I really thought I could eke out the 11 turn quad, and I can't quite do that. I really need one little tiny, like, it's painful because it's just like that much you need in order to make it happen. But I know what I need to do. But I don't know if I have the power to do it. We'll see. Alright, well, whatever. Let's go. Let's go ahead and do our triple SA. Now, if you wonder about the SA stack, the alignment of these units is your SA stack. So, Haruhime is going to come out of the gate with a strength and magic buff 100%. That's going to be important. This light Haruhime is going to come out of the gate with an 80%, light damage plus 80% per each self-magic buff. We've talked about that. That's going to be a big hit. It's going to feel really good, and it's going to do light attack damage 80% for all of our allies. That does mean Lena's then going to come in, and she's going to do light resistance down 20%, or I'm sorry, 50%. Now, why do I do light Haruhime in front of Lena? Because remember that 50% magic debuff is happening on the backside of that, because Lena is going to produce so much more damage with that 80% light damage than she would have otherwise. I really feel like it's so incredibly worth. Now, she is 60%, so maybe, let's see, what is Haruhime's? She's also 60%. So it's like 6 of one, half dozen the other. Anyway, we're going to do a triple SA with them, and I've got to do Shinobi Strike on turn 12. That's why this turn, we really have no choice. Now, Riv on this turn is going to do a 30% magic buff again, 1 low AoE, and element resistance down. So she's not really going to hit us hard, but that magic buff is going to hurt if we don't remove it. Once again, it was kind of a calculated gamble to do an SA on this turn, but the thing is we can survive it. My team can, at least. So long as, and that's the big caveat, so long as we're not taking her big SA on the end of turn 12, basically. Okay? So Light Haruhime hit for 1.69 mil. I'm hoping for about, I've seen her hit for up to 3 mil, but I think that was with a quad. Let's see what happens here. Honestly, don't know what to expect out of her. 2.89. Very respectable. Very, very respectable. That would have eked over 3 million very easily with a quad. Very easily with a quad. I've even seen 3.8 out of her in the right circumstance. So, little painful we didn't get that. Little painful we didn't get that, if I'm entirely honest. And it's all because we have to debuff on turn 12. If debuffing on turn 12 wasn't as mandatory as it was, we could have very easily saved that quad SA for turn 12. But we've got to have Shinobi Strike on that turn. So I'm going to go ahead and do, normally I'd go ahead and do Memorial Strike after that, but I don't want to ruin that 100% buff because I want to try to do another SA with her. And if I can eke out another double SA, I don't think I can. I don't think I have enough in me to do it, but it's worth a try. We're going to go do Mayfly. We're going to go and do Yosuga. And let's see. I believe double tap is Got a couple turns left, so yeah, let's go and see. If I could build the double SA on turn 14, turn 14 would be absolutely perfect. Turn 14 would be the best possible scenario, and I can then do SAs with those two, and it would just be absolutely immaculate. But I don't know if that's going to happen, if I'm honest. All right. So, we survived the SA. We're good on that. Pretty much laughed at it, to be honest. Turn 13. Now, I kind of think I fell off the map on these a little bit. Turn 13 is an element resistance down 2 mid AoEs. So, turn 13, we have to be very careful because she can hit really, really, really hard. The other thing to be careful of, there are rare situations where she can buff after you do the debuff removal, or say after you do the buff removal, she could then buff. Like basically your unit has so much agility she gets in early. That's why it's so important to not worry about the slow and to let the slow happen. But neither here nor there. All right. Let's. In fact, I'm looking at her now. She isn't slowed. The other two are. She is not. Weird. Very weird. All right. So in this turn, double tap is down to 1 turn, so I'm going to go ahead and have to rebuff double tap. My goal, I can't do it. I cannot build the double SA. But I think the double SA can be had on turn 15. That does mean I am like off just by a small margin, and it's super painful. All right, turn 13 with her is going to be element resistance down to mid AoEs. I think I said that before. So, Shinobi Strike, Mayfly, Double Tap, and Yosuga, not in any particular order. I would so in a perfect world, Quad SA on turn 11, Double SA on turn 14. Not going to have that. I'm going to have a Double SA on turn 15. I'm literally 1 turn off, and I've got to find a way to rebuild that without losing too much. Now, Haruhime has lost pretty much all of her MP, but I can do her Akane, which actually does a debuff and damage, and there are no buffs or debuffs that I think are going to fall off at that point. So at this juncture, I can use Haruhime as a damage production unit. While she's not going to produce insane damage, by a long shot she's not going to, she can produce some damage. Yep, I'm going to save it. I'm going to do the double SA. I think that's the best, smartest move at this point. We'll see. I've never actually built my team like this. I've always played a little more safe than this. But here we go. Turn 14, by the way, are 3 mid AoE attacks. And turn 15 are 3 mid single target attacks. Basically, if you've made it to turn 14, you pretty much got it. It's rare that she wipes you out after that. But let's do a double SA and see where we are at. Okay? Now, after the SA on turn 11, magic was down 150. Physical and magic weren't really... Sorry, light was down 150. Physical and magic weren't really affected. But these two units should hit really hard now. Really hard. I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is going to be a little tiny harder hit than our base attack. Let's go. Let's see what happens. All right. If I can get 2 mil out of her, I'll be ecstatic. I don't know if she's got that in her, but I would be absolutely elated to get that kind of damage. Go, girl. There might be some benefit to actually using her SA and then rebuffing her, even though it squanders. Ooh, 2.49. That's actually really nice. Maybe not then. I feel like I may have squandered the 100% magic for a couple of turns without using that other attack. So I'm really going to have to go in. We're going to do that tonight on stream. And really play with some of these damage elements. Oh, man, they both hit for 2.4. Woo! I'm actually pretty glad I saved that. In a perfect world, like I said, Quad SA turn 11, and then Double SA turn 14, where you can then do... Yeah, I just beat my high score. I beat my high score, and I left a lot of damage still on the table. So, there you go, guys. Now you know what Reveria does. If you want the full turn order, it is in both the Discords down below. Make sure you join both my Discord, the Crude Suspension Bridge to Venezuela, and our partner Discord, that is Stardust Garden. Lots of guides, lots of things there. The actual full turn order is in the guides on both these Discords, so make sure you join, guys. For now, that's going to be the video. Let me know what y'all thought in the comments section. Hit that old thumbs up button, and I will catch you all, hopefully tonight, for the live streaming.